Hey guys, I'm Emily. This is my astronomy presentation. Today I'm going to be talking about constellations. Specifically what defines a constellation and some of the interests that people have shown in them. And then I'm going to talk through some of the constellations we have in our textbooks because we haven't really gotten a chance to discuss that this semester. And I'm going to give some interesting background to them, hopefully interesting, and just some facts on how to identify them in the night sky and a little bit of the mythology behind them. So first of all, to talk about constellations, we have to know what constellations are. I'm pretty sure most people know what constellations are, but I read an article called Scope on the Skies that defined constellations as stars arranged in recognizable patterns. So I thought that was a clear, precise way to put it in case that there's somebody who doesn't know what they are. Some of the interests that people have shown in constellations, I think, comes from our tendency to want to know where we fit in time and space. And with that comes our fascination with looking up. For centuries, humans have been studying stars and making up stories to go along with them. And just like the patterns that they see. I'll tell you a couple of those stories when I get to talking about specific constellations, but I think those stories, when they're first being told, were used to make sense of the world. Nowadays we use science, but back then mythology was their way to describe the observed world. With science, we've been able to find out facts by actually sending satellites and people out in the stars. So we don't need to make up stories anymore, but I still find mythology pretty interesting. And it's still where most of our constellations got their names. Now, as we study stars, we can use science to advance our understanding and experiment with what we already know. One of the sources I found was an article called Discovering Our Stellar Neighborhood. And it gave information about classes that study astronomy, and they use scientific measurements to build these replicas of constellations and some other solar systems around us. And then with those replicas built, they can walk around and through and among them to see how it would look from different perspectives in the universe. So how our constellations would look from another planet or even from another solar system, which I thought was pretty cool. And there's also websites and organizations that work to inspire and provide people with information that gives people the opportunity to show interest in the stars. One of them is the American Association of Variable Star Observers. It provides locator charts to help students and observers find different constellations and stars. So it's something for people in astronomy classes, but it's also for people who are just interested in the stars and just interested in knowing where things are. So you guys should definitely check out their website because they're really cool, and hopefully this summer they'll be helpful for you guys if you want to go stargaze. So the first constellation I'm going to be talking about is on number 1 of your textbook. It's on the very first page, looking up number 1. I also found a little article about this one. It's Draco, also known as the Dragon. It's the 8th largest constellation, and it's found near Polaris. The article I read on Draco was very short and didn't give much information on it, but if you just do a quick search of Draco the Giant, there's a couple of Draco the Dragon. There's a couple different mythological stories that go along with it. One includes Hercules and golden apples that Draco was guarding, and another says that Draco fought Minerva in the war between giants and gods, and she trapped him in the sky. There's some others as well, but I won't go over those. So, if you want to look at this, looking up number 1, you've got Draco right here. He kind of wraps around below, and then the Little Dipper, which is where Polaris is. It's also known as the North Star. There's a little blurb on that too if you're interested. Then, if you flip to the back of your book, just right behind the index, there are star maps. So Draco actually appears on all 4 of these. There's one for the spring, the summer, the autumn, and the winter. And if you'll look at these and try to identify or find Draco in them, you can actually see as he moves from kind of the center of the sky down towards the horizon as it gets later and later in the year. All right, so going on to looking up number 3. Perseus is another one of the constellations that we see. He's kind of got like a Eiffel Tower type shape, which helps to identify him in the sky. It's visible in our night sky from August to about December. And if you look up this constellation's mythology, you'll find stuff about Perseus being the son of Jupiter, but it's also told that he was the son of Poseidon. He was most known for killing Medusa. I'm sure some of you know the Hollywood version of his story. They've produced a series of books on him and a movie. If you've seen those or read them, you'll know one of the versions of Perseus' story, and that comes from the mythology behind this constellation. So I think it's really cool that we have all of these stories, and it's even something that we've read as kids, and that's been used as entertainment, and we have the constellation and our stars. That pattern is linked to all of those stories. All right, and then number 4, looking up number 4 in our books, you see the Summer Triangle. This one's not really a constellation, actually. It's actually 3 stars from 3 different constellations. So you have Vega here at the top, Deneb on the side, kind of towards the side, and then Altair down at the bottom. Vega is from the constellation Lyria, Deneb is from the constellation Cygnus, and then Altair is from the constellation Aquila. There we go. It's not actually pictured here, but that's what that one's from. Each of the constellations within the Summer Triangle have some mythological stories behind them, but the triangle itself really doesn't. I think it's more of a seasonal marker type of thing. If you'll flip over to number 5, looking up number 5 in our books is the Taurus. Taurus is also known as the Bull. This constellation is visible in our night sky from November to March, and it's actually one of the zodiac signs. It's my zodiac sign. I don't really believe in the whole zodiac horoscope thing, but it's fun to read sometimes. I didn't really find any mythology on this one, actually. Like, I found a little bit about Taurus being the bull form that Jupiter took at one point in time, but other than that, like, I couldn't really find much. I'm sure there might be more than I just wasn't finding it, but to me it kind of seemed like Taurus wasn't as popular in the sense that he didn't really have a lot of stories about him. But then again, I'm sure there's more than I was able to find. But this is your picture of Taurus in the book. You can see kind of the head and then the horns of the bull going up. But yeah, it doesn't have a lot of that mythology, but because it is a zodiac sign, it has a significance in the calendar, which I think makes it pretty cool. And then the last constellation that I kind of want to go over is the Crux. I think I'm saying that. I hope I'm saying that right. It's the Cross, or the Southern Cross. This one is on looking up number 8 and number 9, actually. There's pictures of it on both. This one, we're actually not able to see it. You have to go more south in the U.S. to see it, and you'd only be able to see it then from May to June. It's more of a southern hemisphere constellation. It is the smallest constellation in the sky, which accounts for its limited line of sight. If you search this one, there's not much mythology on it, as well. It's just like the other ones I was talking about. But there are some, like a little bit of Greek background to it, and then some stuff with Athens. But other than that, I didn't really find any good stories on it. Most of the websites and articles I read on it did say that it is recognized as one of the most easily found constellations because all 4 of the stars that make up the cross are extremely bright, and so they stand out, and if you're in the right place, it's supposedly pretty easy to identify. I don't actually know if I've ever seen that one. Like I said, this one is on, let me show you, number 8. Right here in the center, you have your little cross. And then it's also at the top here, there's the cross of number 9. The reason that I picked this topic, as I kind of mentioned a little bit in the beginning, is because I love stars, but I didn't really know much about them, which this class definitely helped with a lot. I loved our chapters on stars and learning the elements of them and kind of learning more about nebulas and all that stuff. It was just really interesting to me. But I wanted to learn more about constellations and like the stories behind them, because I love being able to stargaze, and I want to be able to look up and be like, oh, look, there's, the summer triangle, and it has these stars in it, and this is the stories behind it and stuff. And hopefully this summer I'll be able to do a little bit of that. I also am hoping to be able to research a little more than just these few constellations that I was able to do in this presentation. And maybe, hopefully, you guys will be interested in maybe doing some of your own research about constellations and stargazing this summer. That would be awesome. I hope that this has kind of helped inspire you to look for stars and to kind of do some research about some more stuff like that, because I think it would be really fun and interesting. So that's pretty much all I've got. I hope you guys enjoyed watching and learning a little bit about what I've been studying about, and a little bit more about just some stuff in our book that we didn't have time to go over this semester. And hopefully it was fun for you guys as fun as it was for me. Thanks for watching.